finally, like, I'm actually on my own, and I hate that.
Holy crap.
A lot of people think if you're an extrovert, you're someone that's super loud, talking all the time, and needing to be around other people, when in reality, that's not always the case. In today's video, I'm going to show you a bunch of different ways that extroversion can show up in real life. Ways that are a little more subtle and different from the stereotypes.
Do you approve of Taylor's current boyfriend?
He looks like a sweet guy.
You're not telling the truth. You're being deceptive.
I'm lying a little bit. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of got a little bit of a villain look about him. He's got really blue eyes, and I struggle with, like...
What?
When he's nervous, he just starts...
Extroverted personality types have a tendency to jump in, to engage more and interact more outside, even under stress and even when they're nervous. Isn't it interesting how Sean, when he's caught off guard, he isn't going inside his head to slow things down and really think through what he says next. Is this something I can say out loud? Am I ready to put this into the outside world? No, instead we actually see Sean blurting things out, talking things out.
I think I could be a bit nicer than him.
How long is too long for a house guest to stay?
It depends on the house guest, but I think any longer than 2 weeks is...
Do you think he'll be a lifelong bachelor?
No. I think that...
I'm not seeing any throttling, anything. There's a lot of being aware of what the outside is, or checking in. If he doesn't know, then he'll check in.
Feel good about that. You feel good.
And then quickly adjusting to what those expectations are.
And I get to go on and kind of see what people react by and how it makes people feel. So then
Wow. I just sort of go out there, see what people like, how it's making them feel, and factor that in. Like, there's a lot of this outside awareness.
A lot of people think being alone or liking your alone time makes you an introvert, when in reality, all personality types can appreciate some alone time, some time to rest and recharge. The more important things to pay attention to are you naturally liking to slow things down to separate yourself from outside interaction and engagement? Is that energizing for you?
And I feel like we don't know each other that well. I don't know if like you live there. I don't want to be like revealing anything about you. I felt really weird sitting through a meal not knowing if I should say hi to you or not. And so I just went to a different restaurant.
As well, what are you actually thinking about or paying attention to when you are alone? There's a lot of extroverts out there that relate to introversion because they get tired out by people or they don't hang out with people all the time. But if you actually ask them, what are they thinking about when they're alone? You'll hear them talking a lot about, oh, I'm thinking about different things going on outside, different things I can try, different things I can learn about, different things I can explore, things I can work on, things that need to get done, what other people are liking, what other people are thinking about. With extroverts, even if they're not socializing, even if they're completely by themselves, you'll still see extroverted preferences showing up in different ways. Them engaging and interacting outside or being very outside oriented without them needing to put effort into it.
When you're so used to always having somebody, the second that person isn't there anymore, it can feel like everything's falling apart.
I realize that I can be alone. Instead of looking for this from other people, I actually need to work on myself.
Content within myself before I try to get that from somebody else.
That's like a realization, like a shift for him.
We're usually talking about things we're learning about, and we're usually learning about the lower functions. You often hear EJs talking about permission to be allowed to introvert, or permission to be allowed to think about myself, not just other people.
It was the first time I was quiet. I did that because I know people like that, and I did that because I want people to like that. I always said that because I know that will resonate. That's a lot of everyone else. There's so much input happening at all times. It's really hard to settle down and to just be like, well, how do I actually feel about this? Me saying to myself, all right, man, you're cool to just be you.
You have permission
to be who you are.
I was basically like in the countryside of England on my own. And it was like, at first I was like kind of losing my mind.
When EJs have that moment for themselves, it is a little bit difficult to go, wait, what, there's nothing to take care of now or
bounce off of and do.
I always felt like I had to walk into a studio and command the room and be like, this is what we're gonna do. And I kind of just walked.
He even said, I'm just used to if I have to go into a place, I'm aware that I have to show up a certain way. And that's almost like his go-to. Letting the dust settle. Sometimes it's actually a good thing to let the dust settle. Now, if you ask an introvert that, they'd be like, what? Like, I need the dust to settle. Because if you don't, I literally can't process what just happened. Like, for everything that's happened in the outside, I need time.
Introverts get energized when they have space and time to process things internally. This could be to think things through for themselves or calibrate things to their own personal perspective. Or it could be to prepare themselves or be a little bit more selective and narrowed in about things. All the introverted functions take some time to process and go inward, which is why you'll see introverts feeling most comfortable when they have space to not interact, not engage outside so quickly.
How are you preparing for tour?
Tour, I mean, I'm rehearsing like crazy, but the truth is you can't really ever prepare fully because getting as prepared as I can and then it kind of just gotta dive into it.
I do the best preparation I can and then just gotta jump right into it. Does that sound like an ISFJ? Someone who's really like where their angst and their stress point is jumping into experiences that they can't prepare for, that they're not used to? Not really.
Driver that I had at the time, he said, you should listen to this masterclass. So I started listening to this masterclass, and first of all, Elizabeth Gilbert, she leads you on to go and listen to this TED Talk. So I'm listening, and she goes, back in ancient Greece, and I walked into the studio, I sat down on it, and then I said to myself, I'm here. And I was like, I hope to God there's a creative genius in these walls.
If he hears people give some sort of wisdom, he's open to trying it without really questioning and going, I don't want to go into that. I went to LA and I tried it and this is what happened, right? NE inferior, when it's introverted sensing dominant, it's not that they'll never do extroverted intuition. It's more like I don't typically get myself into situations that I haven't really thought through and prepared for.
A lot of fear.
Yeah.
Because it was a lot of what ifs. I know where not to go. I know I don't go to a lot of events that I have no business being at.
Introverted sensing, it's like appreciating that there's baby steps along the way. Mm-hmm. And so the higher it is, the more appreciation it is for like baby steps, right? And the more it's in a like second and tertiary position, the more it can take a little bit more of a leap. So not this baby step, but maybe a few more baby steps.
Just because someone looks like that sort of like soft-spoken, like sensitive, like not very loud type of person, don't just assume that that means introvert automatically. There's quite a few people sure about a lot of their letters except for I versus E. And I think that this is a good moment to think about how often are you doing this processing? This is something that you sometimes have to remind yourself to do. Remind yourself to process, go inward, like separate from that outside engaging, outside experience? Or is it you actually have to remind yourself to engage outside and interact more and be more aware of that outside stuff? I think that is a very like simple black and white way to start exploring introvert versus extrovert instead of getting in the weeds about functions. Just going, am I someone that needs to be reminded sometimes to interact and engage outside? Or is it more that I sometimes need to be reminded to not engage and sort of slow down and let the dust settle, process things a little bit more?
If you're interested in some expert help figuring out your best fit personality type or understanding the ways your personality patterns show up in real life, check out our MBTI Foundations course linked down below in the description. It's a 3-session teaching program designed to help all levels of MBTI enthusiasts. As well, if you want to see the full 2-hour discussion on Shawn Mendes' personality type, that's also on the membership link down below in the description. Thanks so much for watching today. Catch you guys in the next one.